Welcome back. I am so thrilled you're here today because we're diving into something incredibly intense. Have you ever wondered how you effectively portray the actual end of the world in just a matter of minutes? Well, today we are deconstructing a rapid global collapse, and we're going to do it entirely by analyzing fragments of frantic, panicked dialogue from the outbreak sequence in World War Z. By just looking at what people say and how they say it, we can map out exactly how an entire society crumbles. It's a pretty terrifying thought, isn't it? How long does it actually take for society to just collapse? When we look at this source material, the answer isn't measured in months or even weeks. It's measured in chaotic, terrifying seconds. Throughout this explainer, we're going to trace a straight, brutal line. We'll analyze this descent starting all the way up at an organized, high-level military response trying to maintain order, right down to the desperate ground-level survival of a single family caught in the crossfire.
Okay, let's jump right into part one, Salvation Gate breach.
So we're starting at the macro scale, looking directly at the immediate military failure. You know, when a massive system is hit with an unprecedented threat, the very first thing to shatter is communication. Just listen to this. It's too loud. It's too loud. This isn't some measured tactical military report. This is pure unfiltered panic. The script kicks off the outbreak with immediate sensory overload. It tells us that whatever the military is facing, it is absolutely deafening. It's overwhelming their senses before it even touches their barriers. The sheer volume of the threat is literally the first weapon. And then, almost instantly, it's followed by this. They're coming over the top. The pacing of this dialogue is just completely uncontainable, which perfectly mirrors the physical threat itself. A wall is supposed to be a definitive barrier, right? A line in the sand separating safety from danger. But here, the threat doesn't just breach the wall, it flows right over it like water. It perfectly demonstrates the sheer physical scale and the fluid dynamics of an enemy that just doesn't care about standard fortifications. Right here, we can literally track the cascading military failures just by listening to their radio chatter. First, command reports a breach at Salvation Gate. Then, bam, almost immediately they have to abandon that position and redirect and evacuate to Jaffa Gate. But even that isn't enough, so flights get frantically redirected to landing point B. You can see the tactical jargon, the gates, and the landing points, just trying desperately to keep up with the real-time destruction happening on the ground. The system is rapidly shrinking its safe zones, frantically moving the goalposts just to stay alive. Which brings us to this incredibly chilling transmission. Hawk 5. Listen carefully. The city is breached, and they're heading towards the airport. Notice the shift in tone here. The frantic yelling has just stopped. It's been replaced by this grim, definitive acknowledgement. This communication marks the exact horrifying moment the military shifts from trying to contain the threat to acknowledging total structural collapse. The airport, literally their last way out, is the new target. The macro-level defense is officially dead. And that brings us to part 2, civilian chaos. We're going to zoom way in now, leaving that dying macro-level military infrastructure and stepping right into the micro-level trauma of a single family stuck in a traffic jam. And this brilliantly illustrates the jarring dual reality of an outbreak. On one hand, you have the military dialogue. Hawk 5, you're patched in, over. It's cold, systemic, procedural. But on the other hand, you have the civilian dialogue from Jerry and his family. Rachel, you've got to get back in your seat. It is a massive auditory and thematic contrast. While the military is literally losing a whole city, a father is just trying to get his daughter to put her seatbelt on. It highlights how, even at the end of the world, desperate intimate parenting still has to happen. Just look at this incredible detail from the dialogue. Snuggle with Subway, Sam, okay? Amidst all the screaming, the crushing metal, the sheer panic outside, the script uses a child's toy, Subway Sam, as a grounding element. It's such a brilliant storytelling device. It anchors the terrified children and gives them something small and familiar to hold on to, while incredibly loud, violent external forces are literally ripping their world apart. Let's visually organize this messy, claustrophobic sequence of survival. This timeline traces the rapid, escalating steps of the family's physical escape. And remember, this all happens in mere seconds. The car crashes. Instantly, the command is everybody out of the car. But wait, there's a complication. The door is jammed. They actually have to physically climb over the seats. Finally, they're running on foot for a nearby RV. Every single second here is packed with micro decisions where failing even one means immediate death. All right, let's transition into the final act. Part 3, the 12-second rule.
This is where the narrative makes a crucial pivot. We are shifting from pure blind panic to active problem solving. But just before that realization hits, we reach the absolute peak of confusion. His wife asks, "What is that, Jerry? What is that?" And he yells back, "I don't know." Up to this point, the enemy has just been a force of nature, a loud, incredibly fast-moving blur. This exchange represents their highest point of vulnerability, right before Jerry manages to spot a hidden pattern within all that chaos.
Now, what's really interesting here is this single number, 12. This isn't just a random number, guys. It is absolutely crucial. It's the core viral mechanic of the entire outbreak. In the midst of all the screaming and running, Jerry focuses his attention on one specific, terrifying event: a man getting bitten and the ensuing transformation. The script conveys this realization through a brilliant, almost surreal moment. Jerry uses a coping mechanism, a rhythmic phrase he tells his kids. "Here comes the number 12 train." And then he starts a methodical count. 1, 2, 3, all the way to 12. Train's in the station. By counting the exact seconds from the bite to the violent transformation, Jerry does something incredible. He takes a chaotic, unpredictable threat and turns it into an observable, predictable mechanic. The monster has rules. And if it has rules, well, it can be understood. But of course, the script leaves us with a bitter, bitter irony. Right as Jerry cracks the code, right as he figures out the 12-second rule of the infection, we hear this over the radio: "We're pulling back on 5th Street. Containment is a fail." Just as one guy on the ground begins to understand the microscopic nature of the collapse, the macro-level military infrastructure officially admits total defeat. The knowledge comes just a few seconds too late to save the city. We've seen how quickly military jargon turns to sheer panic, and how a family's safety completely vanishes in a matter of heartbeats. The speed of the collapse we just explored is staggering. So I want to leave you with this provocative thought to chew on. If the massive system protecting you fails in exactly 12 seconds, what is your first move? Think about those mechanics of survival. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you guys next time.